I guess this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? Ajibale Kemcho, Aj Sub Kesoho. So today I'm going over Venus's transit in the sign of Cancer. Okay. Now this transit is so important. Why? Like more important than any other Venus transit in Cancer because it transits it with Mars. Okay. And it's not just the fact that okay, Mars is here while Venus is here. It's the fact that Venus, as soon as it gets into Cancer, Mars is around halfway already in Cancer. And slowly throughout this transit, Venus gets closer and closer to Mars. So its conjunction energies are stronger, and Mars gets more and more debilitated throughout Cancer. So not only is the conjunction energies growing stronger, but the debilitation energy for Mars is growing stronger. So it's like it's gonna heat up a lot like throughout the transit, okay, which I'm gonna go over. And then another thing is that Ketu is already in Libra, and Mars, when it's in Cancer, it throws its fourth most malefic aspect onto Libra also. So Venus is kind of getting slammed from a few different standpoints. Now, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that it's getting slammed in kind of like the same way, okay? Ketu and Mars are very like implosive planets, okay? It's just like anything could happen kind of thing, right? Like very suddenly. So, like just out of nowhere. So, you need to keep this in mind. But now, let's see how this applies to Cancer specifically. So, what does Cancer mean? Cancer is the sign of nurturing, right? Now, I already made a video on Mars is debilitated transit in Cancer, and it was a pretty general video because it was the first time I ever made a video of Mars in Cancer since I started this channel. So I covered just a lot of basic general things about Mars in Cancer. So you can watch that video for more information because I might not go as much detail into this one because this is more on Venus. But Mars does not do well in Cancer, right? It causes a lot of emotional frustration just basically off gist. Now, when you're trying to nurture others, right, which is what Cancer represents. So Venus in this spot, Venus is all about enjoyment, right? In Cancer is third from Taurus and 10th from Libra. So 3 and 10 are both Upachya energies. Now I made also another video on Upachya energies if you want to watch that more in detail. But Upachya energies are basically tied to free will. Now, there's a reason why Venus, like Cancer is 3 from Taurus and 10 from Libra, which is both Venus's signs, right? Like if you're somebody, let's just say you just have Venus in Cancer in general, right? Cancer is all about nurturing, and Venus is all about enjoyment. So if you find enjoyment in nurturing others, it's obviously going to take some effort to do this, right? So that's why it's there. So there's some effort required here when Venus is there. And something that a lot of people don't realize is that, yeah, the Upachya houses are 3, 6, 10, and 11, right? Which are basically, if you convert them into signs, that's 2 out of the 3 air signs and 2 out of the 3 earth signs, right? Basically the 2 that are ruled by Saturn and the 2 that are ruled by Mercury. Well, there's 2 more. There's 1 more air and 1 more earth, which are both ruled by Venus. And those are not considered upachyas because it's not, Venus things are not necessarily considered things that you need to do, like Mercury and Saturn, right? But Venus does have a high free will energy attached to it. It's just Upachya is more like free will that you need to do. Okay. But moving forward. So when Venus is here, just in general, you can feel that, okay, just in general, yeah, there's some energy required to make this whole show happen, right? Of Venus in Cancer, which is fine. But you add in Mars, right? Which rules a Scorpio and Aries, which are both very like crazy planets. It's like crazy on the water end and the fire end, which is kind of why it has the outcome and the energies that it does, right? So you put that here, now all of a sudden the story is different, right? It's like, let's just say Venus is like a female, okay? And you put it in this nurturing, like let's just say it's like a very bubbly female, and you put it in this nurturing environment, right? Like let's just say a girl or a woman has like, I don't know, some kids, or they're tasked with babysitting. Okay, that's kind of, you can kind of say that because kids is more like Venus and Taurus, but Venus and Cancer could be like they're tasked with like babysitting, like let's just say their nieces or nephews, right? Which is fine. But now let's just say you add in like some really crazy like I guess you can say like just criminal, like drug dealing boyfriend, like here, all of a sudden the environment's gonna change, right? This babysitting environment is gonna change. So I just want to paint you a picture here of why you need to take a look at everything. Okay, so you have Venus here, right? It's trying to accomplish an agenda, but this Mars thing is causing a lot of frustration. And then also you have Ketu itself in Libra, right? And then Mars is obviously aspecting Libra, you know, providing all its outcomes there as well. So basically, I guess the question is, how is this going to affect you and what can you do? So how is this going to affect you is basically, Venus is your enjoyment, right? So when you try to enjoy from a nurturing standpoint, you can feel that you can feel that there's a lot of expectations combined with your enjoyment, right? This is why if you have Venus and Mars just in general, you could have a very, very high like sex drive, or I was trying to think of something else just besides that, but I'll just say that right now. Okay, like anybody who has Venus and Mars together, the sex drive is probably kind of high. Okay, in general, like I said, in general, you gotta look at everything, right? But in general, the correlation is a little higher. So reason why is you take this enjoyment and then you take this frustration and then you combine both the two and you get a high sex drive, right? So in this situation, you take the nurturing and you take the trying to enjoy from a nurturing and you take this frustration, right? Now, this could lead to also having a high sex drive, obviously, right? Because I just said in general they're going to happen. So obviously in Cancer they're going to happen, right? But this placement is Venus and Mars is, you could almost say like worse placement, right? Because Venus and Cancer, like from a combining standpoint, because not only just individually from Mars, it's the worst, but for Venus and Cancer, it's also, it's not that hot here, right? It's okay. Like it's not like bad, it's not great, but it is what it is. But when you combine the two, this could lead to a lot of like increased anger problems with other people, okay? Because already Mars and Cancer's anger problems with other people, right? Because it throws a fourth aspect on Libra. But when you have the Venus itself, which is the Libra Lord, Libra Lord with Mars and Ketu's there, anger can increase a lot. Also, bad decisions with other people can leave a lot, right? Which is why people with Mars and Venus have higher sex drives, okay? Just in general, frustrations can bleed out, okay? And it's connected with enjoyment somehow. So either the enjoyment is going to provide a frustration release, which is it could be anything, right? It could be any enjoyment, like even like not just obviously sex drive, but like alcohol or just doing like what you would consider is like youthful kid immature things, okay? But like with other people. And then so the enjoyment itself could release the frustration, or it could be more from the anger standpoint, which is basically, okay, you get frustrated first, but you notice that the frustration is not allowing you to enjoy, so you express yourself accordingly. So it's either you're looking for enjoyment to release the frustration, or you're getting frustrated and you think you can do something about it to increase your enjoyment, okay? Which is kind of like getting angry or something like that. So, like I said, these things are not exactly the easiest to kind of just say within a 10-minute or 15-minute YouTube video, but this is the best I got. Now, so that's that. So you can kind of just look at it like that. Okay, let's be really aware of all the enjoyment and all the frustration that we maybe want to participate in. And Ketu will help you out a little bit here, but it can also make it worse, right? And you can watch my Ketu True Understanding video. This is why I make all these videos, so I can just refer to them in the video if you want more information on other things. But Ketu can make it worse or better. But my suggestion is, when it's good, appreciate when it's good. But when it's bad, we all have certain desires, right? So when you're naturally doing a little bit in a better, calmer state, because Ketu's kind of going to make it fluctuate back and forth, don't be so hard on yourself. But when you are not doing that well naturally, and you know when you're just like not doing well, right? Like it's your patience is being tested and all this kind of stuff, like in a very short-term basis, then that's a great time to exercise discipline, because your discipline is already low, right? Because when Mars is in Cancer, it throws a 7th and 8th aspect on both the Saturn signs, which I said in my Mars in Cancer video, but I'm just gonna say it again. So your discipline is already being tested, and your Ketu can kind of make it go back and forth a lot. So let's just use our discipline when we have to the most. Now, you might have to do it a little bit more throughout these 5 weeks, right? Especially, and just also keep in mind, it could get more worse towards the end, right? Because Mars gets more and more debilitated towards the end, and Venus gets closer and closer to Mars as this thing goes on. So just keep that in mind. Now, as far as from enjoyment, right? Because Venus is here in Cancer, right? So I always say like the spiritual side first, because that's the most important. But I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, right? Venus is here. You do want to enjoy somehow. So it's like, how do you enjoy? Okay. First of all, if you're not single or something, I just said your sex drive is going to be a little higher. I would personally, like, if you feel this, you could take advantage of this if you do have a spouse or partner, okay? Especially if, this is an area that's lacking in your guys' life, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, like, in my opinion, from a general standpoint, it depends, but that's an opportunity or a route you can explore, okay? But, so, things like that, right? Also, if you do... So Mars is about sudden things, right? So if you do have the opportunity to kind of do things that you don't really do, that you don't really do now, but that you can do more in the future. Let's just say you have some some cousins that live nearby, some distant cousins that you haven't really talked to in a while or something like that. You can use this energy to kind of, like, it doesn't hurt, right? For the most part, in theory, it shouldn't hurt. To just kind of use that energy to kind of get that connection going again. Or if you have some kind of nieces or nephews or something like that, that maybe you don't really talk to or something, or even any family member or friends, you can use this Mars energy to kind of reestablish like a genuine possible connection, okay? Because, people these days are a little bit frustrated because of the lack of just real personal relationships that they have. So you can use this to kind of establish that possibly. Okay, now Ketu obviously is going to make sure that only certain ones get established to an extent, and Mars can make it so that there could be some problems also. I'm not going to say that's not true, but I do want to just give some suggestions here on what you could do, right? Because I kind of said the bad to watch out for, right? The anger problems, this, that, but there's some good. Now, what you really don't want to do is reach out to people that you shouldn't reach out to. So I just said, you want to reach out to family you haven't, or genuine childhood friends, things like that. Do not reach out to any ex-boyfriends or girlfriends that you really should not be talking to, especially because this very primal thing is here. So it's if you kind of get the ball rolling, it could go a lot, okay? So you ideally don't want that to happen, right? And you guys can kind of imagine what I'm referring to here, especially if these people live nearby, okay? But I think that's going to wrap it up for this video, okay? So if you have any questions or comments, you can let me know. And until next time, I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you all so much for watching.